Hello there, I'm Trevor, and this episode is Somewhere in the Middle. We're at the Superman premiere. That's right, folks. I'm here to see Superman. So expect a full review, no spoilers, after this event. Let's go. A friend of mine, who just happens to be a film critic, invited me to the world premiere of James Gunn's new Superman movie. As a lifelong Superman fan, I was beyond hyped. While we weren't in the main TCL Chinese theater or walking the red carpet, we were just upstairs in a Cineplex that shared the same Hollywood buzz. I even caught a bird's eye view of the red carpet and spotted a few celebs arriving. Sure, I would have loved to be down there in the heart of it all, but honestly, I was just as thrilled to see this movie early. I've seen it. I went to the world premiere of Superman. Let's get in. Let's dig into the review. First off, if you're worried about it, this is a non-spoiler review of Superman. I'm here just to give you my simple reactions. A lot of you have joined me on this channel as I started reacting to the Superman teaser, the Superman trailer, and now here's the Superman full movie reaction. But again, no spoilers. Outside of a couple questions that I did have in my trailer reactions, I will probably touch on. And some of these people have already commented on that I should have known these types of things, right? So let's start with the marketing. One, I love that this movie, the trailers, it's essentially are all like within the first 20, 30 minutes of the movie. You do not see a lot of the big picture of what Superman is, James Gunn Superman. Like I said, the teaser trailer and trailers were far more of a boiled down version of a few major sequences. There are some things that are, peppered here and there, but the way that the trailer's set up, you don't really grasp that this is such a condensed version of what the movie's about, or it's only really like a first act, maybe part of the second act.
Hey buddy, eyes up here.
That being said, one of the biggest questions I had in all the trailers was, does Lois know Superman is Superman? So full on, right out of the gate, I'm gonna give you that spoiler. And this is the only spoiler that I'll have, just because it was something I talked about, and I think a lot of you already answered this in the comments. Yes, she knows Clark Kent is Superman.
You'd let me interview you as Superman.
Sure. James Gunn does a perfect way of setting up Superman with like 4 sentences that are just ding, 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 perfect to like, oh, here we are. And again, everyone knows who Superman is. He's one of the most iconic characters. DC, of course, has always had the privilege of owning 2 of the most outright, well, technically the Trinity, right? Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And everyone knows Superman in some form. Sure, many people grew up on the Man of Steel, Henry Cavill as Superman. Some people, like myself, grew up on an older Superman, right? We grew up with Christopher Reeves playing Superman. And of course, there are people that grew up beyond that, even older, right? That grew up with another Reeves playing Superman. So whatever iteration we've known, he's the most iconic superhero character. James Gunn doesn't have to get into the nitty gritty of that. It was just like, here we go, and let's get into it. Again, that was one thing I really enjoyed, was that like the trailers were exactly that, a tease of what the movie would actually hold within it. The next big thing that I think would be addressed or talked about for me is Corn Sweat, right? Our new Superman. How does he fit? I never doubted him for a second. And that being said, let's talk about Superman, something that I find that's very important. James Gunn mentioned this in some of the press tours, talked about this in some of the, online stuff that's coming out there for us to engage with and react to. James Gunn did not want Superman to be as powerful as we may have seen him in the past. I know there's a reference to in the Sunday morning interview that like not powerful enough that he could fly around the Earth a million times and turn back time.
For that matter, go around a planet a billion times and make time go backwards. You know, I wanted a Superman who was a little bit more down to earth.
This Superman bleeds. And obviously we saw that in the trailer, and I do like that this movie kind of backs that up, that we're not setting up this new DC universe or whatever with under Gunn with a god or an alien that can just destroy everything. That's not this Superman. And I like that. I think the stakes are more, maybe not real, but they still feel a little bit more tangible.
Stop.
Another really big, like, what makes this movie for me is how much it leans into choices. Lex Luthor and Superman kind of make up a yin-yang of each other when it comes to choices and what you do with those choices. And there is a beautiful, beautiful sequence, full body chills, got me to cry, between Pa Kent and Clark, Superman, about the choices we make. Gunn really makes this movie about choices and how the world sees us versus, you know, tying into parents, right? Many of us, again, without trying to dig into spoilers, many of us can understand what our parents want for us. And this movie leans into that idea. What our parents want for us might not be who we become. Play that into choices. There's just a delicate balance that I found that's so simple, so pure, and James Gunn nailed it. He nailed it with the sense of being a hero, making the right choices, and in today's day and age, that is punk rock. To care about people, to have empathy for other people, to do what's right, seems to be a bit more punk rock in today's day and age than it was when Superman was invented. I like that he brings that into notion in this movie.
I would question myself in the same situation and consider the consequences.
People were going to die.
I will say Ma and Pa Kent, for me, were perfect. I honestly, as you guys know that watch the channel, I'm not just here for reviews. Jessica and I have raised 4 kids together. And I really kind of saw myself in Pa Kent and my wife in Ma Kent in some regards. There was very much a resemblance of that with us.
I cleaned your boots. I'll go get them for you.
Let's talk some supporting cast. I'll start with Krypto. I mean, the movie's heart is in choices, but Krypto is also like a counter heart, like just as much heart. That dog is pure joy in this movie. It's pure frustration. It's what every dog owner has gone through with a good bad dog, right? A dog that might not do exactly what you expect it to do, that doesn't always listen. You know, we all love a character like Doug from Up. And I feel like, you know, Gunn has been able to bring that sort of embodiment with Krypto too, in another sense of this just character that so many of us can see in our pets and have this personal connection to. Speaking of pets, Bagheera has just shown up. He's just made a little cry call, and he's here running around in the background. He's our most vocal cat, my little black cat. And let's see, come here, Bagheera. You want to say hi to the camera? Say hello to the vlog. Hello. My name is Bagheera. Say hello, Bagheera. Anyone know where we got that name from? Yeah. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. So, Krypto's aces. I absolutely adored him. There is a really, 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 really good tie-in to... There's a tie between Superman, Lex, and Krypto that I didn't expect to see happen, and it's just like Luthor's a villain, but holy crap. Anyways, some more supporting cast. Hawk Girl, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, all a lot of fun. They're on the periphery. We don't get like deep character work there, and I like that. They feel like a crew, and we all know that like Tim Gunn, it's this Project Runway.
Oh my God. I don't see it now. Va 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 voom. Get out of here, Tim.
We all know that James Gunn is good at a crew. I mean, he made the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? He gave us 3 movies. And my daughter asked me when I got home, is it the best James Gunn movie you've ever seen? And I was like, I don't know that I, right now, immediately want to say I like it more than Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians of the Galaxy was a comic book, a property that I didn't know anything about. When that came out, it was unique to me. I read plenty of Marvel, but I never got into Guardians of the Galaxy. And so James Gunn made me fall in love with a group of characters I never cared about before, in a way that I almost care about them more than any other Marvel cinematic character. Cinematic, right? I don't know that I feel the same way about Superman, in that sense that I love Superman. Superman's been a big deal to me since I was a little kid. I'm just happy with what I got of this Superman, of James Gunn Superman. I can't say it's what I wanted, but I'm completely satisfied and know that it's in the right hands. And that being said, I felt that way going into this, that James Gunn carrying or fostering Superman to the big screen, bringing him back in a new way, it was in the right hands. And this movie only validated that. And to that point, I wouldn't say this is what I expected or wanted from a Superman movie. I wouldn't have thought this story up. But I really like where James Gunn plops us into the DCU for now, what he's done. And again, all the characters that we see, and we're only going to get more. Like, you get Frank Grillo in this, right? Frank Grillo, the Creature Commandos guys, Sergeant Rick Flag, Senior, right? And you can watch the animated series that ties directly into that, and you know that there's going to be more, right? So, like, we know these, like, pieces of the universe, and the way that he kind of just plops us into that, I think this movie does a really good job of sort of setting that table for us.
Hey! Quit messing around!
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
I mentioned that Superman and Lex Luthor are a bit of yin-yang, and I don't want to get into, like, spoilers or anything, but I do feel that they represent yin-yang in the sense of the choices we make, right? And there's, like, truth and honor, Superman, and lies and deceit from Lex. And I really like how Gunn, like, balances that and, like, plays with the audience, like, learning how both work. If you've seen any of the other Supermans, especially Lex Luthor, like Gene Hackman Lex Luthor, he was always, like, outsmarting Superman. And there's a level of that in today's society with gaming. And, like, Lex is sort of outgamed Superman. And I like sort of cheat codes. And it's like, you know, it changes the parameters of a fight. It changes the parameters of how you see things. Again, the yin-yang of that and the way that they do that with Lex and Superman in this movie, or the way that James Gunn balanced that all out, I think is really, really, really well done. And I liked seeing that all come out.
I have no clue what you're talking about. He's just a dog.
Lastly, let's talk villains without getting too detailed. I think both Ultraman and the Engineer are awesome in this. You know, they really do play these, like, great henchman characters. And I like that Lex still is sort of this, like, the puppeteer for everything that's happening against Superman, because he's against this alien, right? I think this movie is such a perfect, it's ripe right now in our society, in a period of time where immigrants, resident aliens may be under attack. This movie makes you think. I don't know if this movie makes you think, but if you want to think deeper of the context of what's going on in society, the writing's on the wall in this. And the fact that we might be being deceived. We might be being lied to by certain people in power who only want power for themselves. Will everyone see that as they watch this? No. Could someone who's a pundit or opposite and wants to find a reason to dislike this movie use that against it? Absolutely, and I'm sure there will be.
My actions? I stopped a war.
Maybe.
Not maybe. I did.
Something we should talk is score. You know, when we first heard the, like, hints of the John Williams score in this movie. It was just like, holy moly. In the sense of, it's a James Gunn movie. We're just going to get needle drops everywhere. That doesn't really fit to me for Superman. Spoilers for that, this movie is not filled with needle drops. There are two. There are two needle drops. One is not tied to Superman, one is tied to Superman, and they're great. Outside of that, the score hit me, I think, 3 to 4, maybe 5 times with full body chills. Matched with the visuals, matched with the emotional tone of a scene, matched with what was happening. It's dialed in for me. The score is right on point. I'm very happy, again, in what they did musically, visually, the characters, all the acting is just on point. Pa Kent, one last time I gotta mention, he has probably my favorite scene in the movie, talking about what I focused on this whole episode, talking about choices with Clark, and it's just the most emotional scene I've seen, and maybe my favorite thing in the whole movie.
What makes you who you are?
On a last note here, James Gunn, thank you from the bottom of my heart, bringing a new light to Superman in our modern age. I've always liked Superman. I've enjoyed many of the iterations that we've seen of Superman across different forms of media. I was all on board with Snyder and his universe, but this is a different tone, and I really, again, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate what you have brought to the world with this beloved character. The story you've told and the setup you've done for what we have potentially coming in our future. To put it in context as Superman, or to quote Superman, golly, this could be a lot of fun. So, that being said, thanks for watching this mostly non-spoiler review of Superman, James Gunn Superman. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you're here all the way to this point in the episode, you had to have enjoyed it because you're still here. So thanks for watching. And I'll see you on the next episode. Auf Wiedersehen.